Akihiko Sanada was born to unknown parents who either couldn't or wouldn't raise him, resulting in Akihiko and his sister Miki to live in an orphanage, where at some point he'll meet Shinjiro Aragaki. However, one day a fire will break out, which would end with Miki unfortunately perishing in the accident. Devastated by losing Miki, he will take to boxing and will eventually become a champion for Gekugan High. At some point, both Akihiko and Shinjiro will meet the leader of Seas, Mitsuru Kirijo, an organization that combats shadows during the dark hour. However, their bond will become strained after Shinjiro's persona will go berserk and would unfortunately kill the mother of Ken Amada. But on October 4th, Takaya would track down and fatally shoot Shinjiro. However, Akihiko and Seas would be too late due to Shinjiro's wounds being too severe, and he would succumb to the severity of his injuries, but trusting Akihiko to look after Ken. Afterwards, Akihiko and Seas would battle Nyx. After a prolonged battle, Makoto would defeat Nyx at the cost of sacrificing his soul to keep Nyx at bay. However, everyone would lose their memories, with the exception of Aigis and Makoto, as everyone would continue with school normally. But on graduation day, Akihiko and Seas would regain their memories and would find Makoto on the roof with Aigis having passed away. But afterwards, Akihiko would go on to become a successful boxer. Chie Satonaka was born in the small town of Inaba, where she would become friends with Yosuke Hamura and Yukiko Amagi. However, not long after, Yu Narukami would be transferred to Yasogame High. Sakiko Nishi would be murdered along with Mayumi Yamano. Eventually, Yukiko would go missing after Yu would discover the Midnight Channel. Chie, Yosuke, and Yu would team up and would enter the TV world, where they would meet Teddy, who happened to live in the TV world. But Chie would be faced with her own shadow. After a prolonged battle, Chie would go on to accept her shadow self. Afterwards, with the help of Yu and Yosuke, they would save Yukiko before she would be killed by her own shadow. It will go on to save and recruit several members to the investigation team: Kanji Tatsumi, Naoto Shirogane, and Rise Kujikawa. Eventually, Chie and the investigation team would confront Adachi, who unintentionally admitted to his crimes, and would retreat in the TV world, where he would battle the investigation team, and after a grueling battle, Adachi would be defeated and arrested for his crimes. However, not long after, Adachi would send a letter to Yu, revealing the identity of the goddess Izanami. Chie and the investigation team would go on to battle Izanami, and with the help of Yu, the investigation team would be successful in defeating Izanami. Afterwards, Chie and the investigation team would see Yu off as he would return to his hometown. Well, what's up? Went here with another Persona match. However, unlike my other Persona matches, I won't be doing a physical section. Now, at that time, I wasn't aware of how busted Persona scaling was, but with my new knowledge, they scale roughly to each other in their respective wildcard users, putting them at best universal to high multiversal. The only difference is that Akihiko is debatably a bit more stronger due to withstanding Nyx's gravity waves and battling Urbus, but other than that, they're just as fast and just as durable. But at the same time, a slight strength difference isn't exactly a game changer, so one wouldn't exactly put a solid advantage over the other. So I give no edge to either companion in terms of physical capabilities. Now, when it comes to my main resources, I'll only be sticking to Fez for Akihiko and Golden for Chie. And yes, I am aware of the arena games, but I'll be only using them to better explain their combative abilities. And just to make it clear so there's no confusion, yes, I am aware that Persona 3 Reload does have elements from Fez, but I won't be including this. As for why, you'll see why in a minute, because it's really not going to make a difference at all. And as a final note, I should also mention, due to Akihiko explicitly being weak to ice, I will once again be doing this under no elemental weaknesses. So, main rant over, let's start with their weapons and equipment. Akihiko uses a pair of fine gloves when combating shadows, which are shown to be capable of blocking sword strikes from Junpei. He also carries an invoker, but this isn't a weapon and is only used to summon his persona, so if he loses it, he won't be able to summon Caesar. Speaking of which, his persona, Caesar, uses what seems to be a broadsword. Chie will be bringing a pair of leg guards to this fight, which are capable of damaging powerful shadows. Her persona, Harado no Okami, wields a dual-side naginata and wears samurai armor. Yes, this is a pretty simple category, honestly. When it comes to their main weapons, I guess I'll give it to Akihiko. You'll see why in a minute. But in all seriousness, due to his gloves being able to block sword strikes, I guess they're more impressive. But in all fairness, these two have very different approaches. Akihiko uses them for boxing, while Chie uses her leg guards for kicking. Do you get the picture? Good. Now, as for their personas, it's a lot more simple, because Harado no Okami has a clear edge. Its naginata is longer, has better range, and has a double-sided blade making it easier to attack and defend with. Plus, it's also wearing armor. So, with Chie being the one to break the stalemate, I give Chie the slight edge in weapons. Akihiko's final persona is dubbed Caesar. Caesar blocks electricity but is weak to ice. It has access to one physical attack, but powerful lightning damage, as well as spells that can buff himself and debuff his opponent. Torunda decreases an opponent's attack by 25%. Rakunda lowers an opponent's defense by 25%. Secunda lowers an opponent's hit and evasion rate by 10%. He can also heal himself completely with Dirohan. Fistmaster increases his attack damage by 1.25%, and Electric Amp then increases his lightning spells by 50%. Chie's final persona is dubbed Harado no Okami, which blocks light damage and is capable of absorbing ice spells but is weak to fire. Harado no Okami uses powerful physical damage and has access to ice spells. Her spells range from Tarukaja, which increases her attack for 3 turns, and Power Charge, which boosts her next physical attack by 150%. Her passive abilities range from Adapt Pupil, which increases her critical rate. Auto Tarukaja allows her to buff herself at the start of a battle. High Counter has a 20% chance of reflecting her opponent's physical attack back at her opponent. And Dragon Hustle increases her attack, defense, hit, and evasion rate for 3 turns. When it comes to their personas, I think it's a bit clear cut. Chie without doubt has stronger physical attacks, but Akihiko has better lightning spells compared to her ice spells. Now speaking of spells, I do slightly favor Akihiko. Yes, Chie does have a bit of an upper hand due to Dragon Hustle, Power Charge, and High Counter. But at the same time, Akihiko can lower her attack, defense, hit, and evasion rate, essentially undoing her buffs. Plus, it doesn't help that Akihiko can also heal. Now, as for passive abilities, I have to give it to Akihiko, if slightly. Yes, Chie's passive abilities are going to be a problem, but at the same time, it's not a game-changing factor since Caesar mostly uses lightning spells and only has 1 physical attack compared to Chie's many. So even if Akihiko does fall for this, I highly doubt he'll fall for a second time, meaning that it really comes down to which you think is better, range or close range. And me personally, I have to say that Akihiko has a slight edge over Chie due to being able to heal, having more variety in spells, plus powerful lightning spells, allowing Akihiko to stall long enough to get that hit he needs. So I give Akihiko the very, very slight edge in persona. Just like all combatants use weapons, I'll be using Star Wars lightsaber fine forms to better analyze and illustrate on how a combatant approaches combat. Akihiko at some point will be trained in boxing, and judging by his style, he seems to be the Swarmer type. Also known as a pressure fighter, the Swarmer fighter focuses on pressuring an opponent by maintaining a close distance to an opponent. The Swarmer style also trains a user to utilize sharp jabs, hooks, and uppercuts, while also maintaining proper cardio, endurance, and footwork. However, saying that Akihiko is a well-rounded combatant would be an understatement, since by the end of Fez, at that time, he'll be well known for his boxing skills and has defeated armed combatants. As combatant, Akihiko mainly sticks to his boxing skills, meaning that he sticks to a swift yet nimble fighting style to close the distance and knock out his opponents as quick as possible. Caesar, on the other hand, mainly prefers to keep his distance and fire spells, but based on what he shows in arena games, Caesar seems to be a competent user in Form 1 Shisho, which trains a user in wide sweeping strikes to dispose of groups of opponents. However, due to his basic use and his wide arc swings, the form can easily be countered by a well-trained opponent. By the end of Persona 4, Chie, as far as I'm aware, will have no combative history prior to obtaining her persona, and instead would get her experience from watching kung fu movies. No, I am not joking. However, based on what she has displayed, her fighting style can be best compared to Taekwondo, a kick-based martial art that teaches a user in power strikes. As an overall combatant, Chie, for the lack of better words, is not the sharpest tool in the shed, and she's really not the brightest when compared to others such as Yosuke or Naoto. Haruto no Okami, on the other hand, uses a rush style offense to cleave through opponents, with a form that I can best compare to as Form 4 Taro. A Taro trains a user in acrobatics and aggression to blitz or pressure an opponent. However, the form is very taxing on a user's stamina, and is really not best used in close quarters due to its mobile use. You know, at first I was debating on making this a paragraph total, but I'm making the executive decision and to humor everyone here, because this is a cut and dry category, and it's not even close at all, because this is a total sweep in Akihiko's favor, and I honestly hope I'm not the only one who sees the glaring reason on why that is. Before we continue though, I'd like to introduce everyone to the bashing of Chie Satonaka, and to answer everyone's question, why, you may ask? Because Chie's only combative experience comes from watching movies. Just because someone watches a few Jet Li or Jackie Chan movies doesn't make them a master martial artist. Heck, Chie would be better off trying to imitate kickboxing by watching the Olympics rather than think she's fit for the UFC. At least Akihiko, on the other hand, he's actually trained in boxing and is actually very successful, since by the end of Persona 3, Akihiko was already getting several college recommendations for just his boxing skills alone, making him easily the better martial artist. And look, I don't care what you have to say about Chie, she is a terrible martial artist, since she hasn't fought armed combatants, and not only that, her fighting style is impractical. Don't believe me? Try watching a few Jackie Chan or Jason Statham movies, and then try going out and putting someone in a bind or takedown, while your opponent is fighting back, moving and shifting their weight. The only thing you'll be successful in is probably hurting yourself due to an improper form. And when it comes to tactics, it's again a sweep in Akihiko's favor. He may not be as great of a strategist as Mitsuru, but he's certainly more brighter and competent than Chie. Now, as for personas, I guess I could give it to Chie due to Caesar mainly operating as a ranged persona, while Haruto no Okami is strictly a close range persona. But honestly, it's really not enough to win her the battle, because much like with Akechi for Sumiri, more times than not, personal combat skills edges out more times than not. So I give Akihiko the clear edge in combat skills and tactics. Let's just say that the Velvet Tenants, Margaret and Elizabeth, have decided to test random Persona users. by having them fight each other, and they settle on Akihiko and Chie as the first round commences. The two summon them in a large battle arena, giving it to them straight that they've been summoned to fight each other, as a bit of a test. The two of them agree, and their battle begins, with Akihiko summoning Caesar, and Chie summoning Haruto no Okami right off the bat. Caesar stays back and rains down powerful lightning spells, while Chie has Haruto no Okami close the distance to pressure Caesar. While Chie takes the opportunity to close distance and delivers a spinning roundhouse kick, Akihiko quickly takes his boxing stance and ducks under a kick before connecting a hard uppercut to her chin, which staggers Chie. But before he could throw a hard jab, Akihiko is thrown off balance due to Caesar being knocked into a stone pillar by Haruto no Okami. Chie takes the opportunity to buff herself with power charge and Tarugaja as she closes distance, putting the boxer at a bit of a disadvantage as her attacks start coming in harder. But Akihiko powers through the pain that's inflicted on him and quickly sidesteps a double roundhouse kick that will have dazed him, if not outright knocked him out. But not missing a beat, the seized member counters with a hard jab to Chie's kidneys before following up with a sharp hook to her temple that sends her stumbling back, giving her a dazed view of the world, but also giving Akihiko the opportunity to heal himself, but also debuff Chie. As Chie's vision returns, Akihiko buffs himself at the last minute before sending Caesar back in to fire off lightning spells, which eventually land, shocking Haruto no Okami with powerful lightning. Powering through the shock, the chariot counters with powerful ice spells, but Caesar weaves between them. But now Akihiko has Caesar lower Chie's defense, but at the last moment, the seized member recoils back, feeling his persona being destroyed, giving Chie time to move in and, relying on instinct, delivers a kick to his midsection. Not letting out, the chariot delivers a double roundhouse kick that knocks Akihiko off balance. But this also gives Akihiko enough distance to take his evoker out and summon Caesar again. Despite being a bit of a disadvantage due to Haruto no Okami's bear weapon, Caesar is able to stay just out of range to keep Haruto no Okami on defense with its lightning spells. But as Chie goes to deliver a hook kick, her body suddenly jolts as she feels her persona being shocked by powerful bolts of lightning, allowing the seized member to close the distance and deliver a combo of hooks and jabs. However, Akihiko recoils back mid-combo as he feels his persona being destroyed due to Haruto no Okami using Dragon Hustle to buff itself. As both recover, Akihiko summons Caesar and buffs himself as the two close distance. But Akihiko already telegraphs her attacks as he ducks and weaves between her kicks before connecting a hard jab to her jaw and a sharp hook to her temple, just as Caesar destroys Haruto no Okami with a combination of physical attacks and lightning spells. Of lightning spells and physical attacks, Chie recoils back at the destruction of her persona, and not missing a beat, Akihiko lands a hard hook that knocks her out, exhausted but still standing. Afterwards, Akihiko heals himself before waking up in his dorm feeling much stronger than before. And with that, I declare Akihiko Sanada, the Emperor, the winner. Yeah, no one needs to tell me this is going to be a sweep in Akihiko's favor, because outside of their personas, Akihiko is dominating this fight. Chie only lasts this long because her persona is bringing more firepower to the fight. Except here's the thing, Akihiko has spells to outlast her more times than not. And the moment things get to close quarters, Akihiko is knocking her out the vast majority of the times. And it doesn't help that Akihiko has fought and defeated armed opponents with just his boxing skills. The only time Chie does win is if you go with regular battle standards, since Caesar is flat out weak to ice. Otherwise, going by boss standards, Akihiko honestly hard counters her the second things get to a physical confrontation. And the seized member has the skills, the experience, and the persona to ensure that he knocks her out. But honestly, at this point, I feel like I'm being a dead horse. But if you really think Chie has what it takes to win under boss rules, by all means, knock yourself out. And with that, follow the users in the description below if you want to see more content similar to mine. And I'll see y'all next time.
The train is currently headed to Midgar Sector 8. A soldier operative will be inserted to neutralize the situation. We are to proceed as scheduled. Commence mission in 3, 2, 1. Mark. Begin mission. Operative is ready for insertion.
The train has been overrun by Wu-Tai troops. Eliminate them and regain control of the train.
Oh yeah! Get serious!
Watch this person carefully. Do you remember me?
I remember. Of 5 people, 3 must pay a price. You are not one of them, Jin Yuan.